They tell you to plant fruit trees for food security. What they don't tell you is you're locking your capital into a 7-year wait, with frost risk, pollination risk, and zero cash flow in between. An apple tree is a long-term bond. Capital in the ground, dividends delayed. One bad late freeze and your yield disappears overnight. That's not resilience, that's exposure. If you want real food security, immediate yield, calorie density, reliability, you need to look lower. Not up into canopies, down into bushes. There is a class of agricultural assets that outperforms trees in speed, predictability, and return on soil. They don't demand a decade of patience, they don't require ladders, and the best of them produce dense calories at a rate that makes annual gardening look inefficient. Today we're breaking down 9 survival bushes with the highest return on investment you can plant. We start with hazelnuts. If you think of your land as a portfolio, hazelnuts are your oil wells. Not the tall European tree forms that take 10 to 15 years to mature. The bush types, American and hybrid genetics bred for resilience. These start yielding in 3 to 4 years. That's a radically different timeline. And this isn't fruit sugar. This is fat and protein. A single pound of hazelnut delivers roughly 2,800 calories. 1 pound. That's more than a full day of energy. In a disruption scenario, you don't starve from a lack of vitamin C. You starve from a lack of fat and protein. Hazelnuts solve that problem efficiently. Now look at the durability. Certain hybrid varieties are bred to survive temperatures down to -40, even -50 degrees Celsius. While fruit trees split bark and die in deep freeze events, hazelnut bushes go dormant and return. They are wind-pollinated, meaning no dependence on bees for fruit set. You can plant them as windbreaks, stack functions, and harvest protein from your boundary line. That is efficient land use. A mature bush can produce 10 to 25 pounds of nuts per year and remain productive for 30 years or more. Over its lifespan, that's hundreds of pounds of dense, storable calories from a single plant. Stored dry, the nuts last up to a year without refrigeration. That's a rotating pantry powered by sunlight. Yes, wildlife will compete. Squirrels understand value. So you plan accordingly, netting, timing, overplanting. Because the yield justifies the defense. Now contrast that with Nanking cherry. If hazelnuts are long-term fat reserves, Nanking cherry is your fast-moving liquidity. This is not a fragile grafted orchard tree. It's a bush cherry from Asia that produces absurdly fast, often fruiting the year after planting. White blossoms explode in early spring. Weeks later, you're harvesting tart sweet cherries that supermarkets ignore because they're too soft to ship. For commercial supply chains, that's a weakness. For you, it's an edge. Shelf life doesn't matter when you're the consumer. Once established, Nanking cherries handle drought and prairie winds better than most stone fruits. No grafting required. Grow from seed. Plant the pits. 2 years later, new bushes. That's self-replicating infrastructure. Each mature bush yields 10 to 20 pounds annually. The fruit ripens in a concentrated window, which actually simplifies processing. One heavy harvest, juice, jam, wine. Done. Compact growth under 6 feet means you can plant densely. Edible hedged or productive perimeter. Now we layer in compounding advantage. Gummy berry. Most plants extract nitrogen from the soil. Gummy fixes it. Through symbiotic root bacteria, it pulls nitrogen from the air and deposits it into the ground. It feeds itself and enriches surrounding crops. You are planting fertility and fruit in one move. Bright red berries with silver speckles, unique tart sweet flavor, high in lycopene, in some cases far exceeding tomatoes. Fruits early in the season, filling the hunger gap before most crops are ready. It tolerates partial shade. That means vertical stacking under larger trees. Understory production that most people leave empty. A mature gumi yields 8 to 15 pounds of fruit per year, while actively improving the soil for heavy feeders like tomatoes and squash planted nearby. It pays you twice, once in fruit. Once in fertility. That's compounding interest in biological form. And we're just getting started. Next, Siberian pea shrub. If hazelnut is protein storage and gumi is fertility plus fruit, Siberian pea shrub is structural resilience. This plant survives conditions that kill orchards. 40 degrees winter's drought, poor soil, wind exposure. It doesn't complain. It produces small pea-like pods with edible seeds containing roughly 30-35% protein. Not a snack crop, a backup protein system. Most people plant it as livestock forage. Chickens love it. But in a collapse scenario, you can harvest and process the peas yourself. It's also nitrogen fixing, meaning it improves soil while producing food. Think of it as insurance infrastructure. You may not rely on it daily, but when everything else struggles, it keeps producing. It also functions as windbreak, hedgerow, erosion control, and wildlife buffer. Stacked utility equals stability. Now let's accelerate. Sea buckthorn. This is not a gentle plant. It's a survivor species, grows in sand, salt spray, degraded soils, tolerates brutal cold. Fixes nitrogen like gumi, but the real value is nutrient density. The bright orange berries are loaded with vitamin C, vitamin E, carotenoids, and omega fatty acids. It's one of the rare plants that contains omega-7, extremely valuable nutritionally. Yields can reach 20-30 pounds per mature female plant. Yes, you need male and female plants, that's the trade-off. But once established, it fruits heavily and reliably. The berries are tart, almost aggressively sour, but they process well into juice, syrup, oil, and preserved concentrates. It's not comfort food, it's micronutrient insurance. Now let's talk about elderberry. This is infrastructure disguised as a shrub, fast growing. Handles wet soil better than most fruit crops. Produces massive clusters of dark purple berries loaded with antioxidants. One mature bush can yield 20 pounds or more per year. The berries must be cooked, that's important. But once processed into syrup, jam, or dried form, they store well and offer medicinal value alongside calories. Elderberry fills a specific resilience niche, immune system support during stress seasons. You're not just planting calories, you're planting recovery capacity. Next layer, Aronia, chokeberry. This is a yield machine. Extremely cold hardy, pest resistant. Minimal maintenance. Berries are high in anthocyanins, among the highest antioxidant levels recorded in common fruits. The taste is astringent fresh, but dried or processed it becomes usable. And because wildlife often ignore it compared to sweeter fruits, you lose less yield to competition. A mature bush can produce 15 to 25 pounds annually. It fruits reliably even in marginal climates. That consistency matters more than sweetness. Now let's zoom out. Look at what we've built so far. Hazelnut, fat and protein reserve. Nanking cherry, rapid fruit turnover. Gumi, fruit plus soil fertility. Siberian pea shrub, backup protein and windbreak. Sea buckthorn, micronutrient density. Elderberry, medicinal yield. Aronia, reliable antioxidant crop. Notice something. No 10-year wait times, no fragile graft dependency, no ladder harvesting, no single point pollinator failure. Most of these begin producing in 2-4 years. Most survive extreme cold, most serve multiple functions. That's portfolio design. If fruit trees are blue chip stocks with long maturity cycles, these shrubs are diversified cash flow assets that start paying quickly and keep paying under stress. And we're still not finished. Now we complete the system. Because a resilient landscape isn't random abundance, it's timed abundance. You want food ripening in waves, early season, mid-season, late season, with calorie density rising as winter approaches. Let's finish strong. High bush blueberry. This is your stability crop. Blueberries don't spike like cherries and disappear. They produce steadily for weeks. They store well frozen, they dry well. And mature bushes can yield 10-20 pounds annually. But the real advantage? Longevity. Well-maintained plants can remain productive for 40-50 years. That's generational yield. Yes, they require acidic soil. But once dialed in, they are low maintenance and pest resistant compared to many fruits. They fill the midsummer window when early berries are done and full crops aren't ready. Smooth cash flow. Currants, black, red, and white. Underrated. Highly productive, shade tolerant. Most fruiting plants want full sun. Currants will produce in partial shade, meaning you can plant them in otherwise unused areas. Black currants in particular are nutrient dense and extremely cold hardy. Yields of 8 to 15 pounds per bush are common. They fruit early, often before blueberries, filling that early summer gap. And unlike delicate berries, currants are tough. They handle frost better than many fruit blossoms. Reliable production in climates where peaches fail. Rugosa rose. Most people see ornamental hedges. You should see vitamin reserves. Rugosa roses produce massive rose hips. Bright red, thick-walled, and extremely high in vitamin C. They tolerate salt spray, poor soil, wind, cold. They can function as defensive hedging. Literal perimeter security with edible yield. The hips ripen in late season, often after frost, and store well dried. When fresh produce disappears, rose hips are just getting started. Late season resilience, and finally, serviceberry, Juneberry. This is the bridge crop. Fruits early, often before strawberries. Sweet blueberry-like berries that birds love, so timing matters. Cold hardy adaptable. Can be grown as multi-stem shrub or small tree. Yields vary widely, but mature plants can produce 10-25 pounds per year under good conditions. It fills one of the most critical seasonal gaps. Late spring, when stored food is running low and annual crops aren't ready. Psychologically and nutritionally important. Now zoom out again. Here's the full layered system. Early season, serviceberry, currants, gummy mid-season, Nanking cherry, blueberry, aronia. Late season, elderberry, sea buckthorn, rugosa rose, calorie backbone, hazelnut, Siberian pea shrub, nitrogen fixers improving the soil. Gumi, sea buckthorn, Siberian pea shrub, windbreak, plus hedging potential, hazelnut, pea shrub, rugosa rose. This is not gardening. This is land design for yield density. Instead of waiting a decade for a fragile orchard to mature, you plant a diversified shrub system that begins producing in 2 to 4 years, survives extreme climates, and compounds fertility over time. Each plant covers a weakness of another. That's resilience. You don't eliminate risk. You distribute it. And the best part, most of these bushes can be propagated at cuttings. Seeds start layering, which means once established, your system can expand itself. That's how you move from hobby gardening to food infrastructure.